Hello, I'm James Ezimoha. Welcome to African News, where we bring you the latest updates from across the African continent. Let's see your headlines. Panic erupts in eastern Congo as Ugandan military trucks pull out. Gabonese citizens say they are optimistic about the future as they head to the polls this weekend. Kenyan apparel manufacturers cautiously optimistic after 90-day U.S. tariff suspension. Thank you for joining us. Gabonese citizens are heading to the polls this weekend in their first presidential election since last year's coup. Many hope the vote will bring reforms and tackle deep-rooted economic issues.
Gabon is preparing for a landmark presidential election on Saturday, the first since the military ousted longtime President Ali Bongo in 2023. The military, led by Brice Oligui Nguema, promised to restore civilian rule. Nguema, now running as a candidate, is widely seen as the front-runner. Voters say they're focused on jobs, public safety and essential services in a country still struggling despite its oil wealth. In Libreville, young voters collecting their electoral cards say they want leaders who can fix the system and create real opportunities.
It's important because I am a citizen, and then to be able to choose the right person for the proper functioning of our country. What we see today, there is a lot of unemployment, and we hope that with the choice we make, we can have more opportunities in various fields, whether it's health, education, etc.
As a resident of Libreville, what I wish and want is for the crime in Greater Libreville to decrease. The new president who will be elected should try to put law enforcement at certain intersections to reduce crime in Libreville. There is too much crime in Libreville. You can't go home at any hour and get robbed every time. It's not good.
Voting for me is important. At the same time, it's my civic right as a Gabonese, first to vote. And for me, it's important because I'm entering into my country's history.
The vote is being closely watched across Central Africa. For many Gabonese, it's not just about electing a leader, but securing long overdue progress after decades of political stagnation.
Ugandan military trucks pulling out of eastern Congo have triggered panic in towns like Butembo. Residents fear that the exit could pave the way for renewed rebel violence.
In Butembo, eastern Congo, a sudden sighting of Ugandan military trucks leaving town sparked alarm, leading to street campaigns warning of a security crisis. The troop movement, described by officials as routine, has raised fears of a power vacuum in a region destabilized by a sweeping offensive by M23 rebels and other armed groups. Uganda has played a critical role in regional security under a bilateral agreement with Congo. Local civil society groups say the withdrawal could leave the region vulnerable to insurgents and are urging the government to act.
We have all learned of Uganda's intention to withdraw its military forces from our region. This has prompted us to come together to understand the ins and outs of the situation and grasp the deeper stakes. That is why we understand that the threat is extremely serious. The enemy at our doorstep could take us by surprise in a very unpleasant way. This is why we are calling on the Congolese government to take responsibility.
Security analysts warn that Congo's army lacks the capacity to secure the region on its own, and Uganda's exit could also hurt its own strategic interests.
If the Ugandan army withdraws from Lubero, it will already create a sort of security vacuum for Congo, because we've long been aware that the Congolese army is incapable of occupying these territories. So a security vacuum will emerge, and the consequences for the Ugandans themselves would be the loss of part of their agenda, particularly economically.
While officials stress that no formal withdrawal has been confirmed, the anxiety on the ground is real. With insurgent groups active across the region, communities like Butembo are left hoping for clarity and protection. before it's too late.
Kenyan apparel manufacturers are cautiously optimistic after U.S. President Donald Trump paused newly imposed tariffs for 90 days. Industry leaders say Kenya's trade alignment with Washington could secure long-term benefits.
Kenyan exporters are getting a breather after the U.S. temporarily suspended import tariffs that had threatened the country's apparel industry. The 90-day pause, announced by President Donald Trump, offers short-term relief and a chance for countries aligned with U.S. policy to negotiate longer-term exemptions. Kenya, a key African Growth and Opportunity Act beneficiary, is banking on its stable relations and alternative sourcing strategies. Exporters say Kenya's position aligns well with U.S. trade priorities, and they're hopeful it'll pay off.
So we had anticipated that there will be discussions, President Trump being the deal maker, I'm sure he would have his own plans and strategies. 90 days, we expect that there will be countries who will align. Kenya is already aligned. Our pitch has been very clear that Kenya is very much aligned with the American policy. And AGOA is also aligned to the America First policy because of the alternative sourcing, geopolitical soft power, and all other good factors which comes along.
Despite the optimism, there's growing recognition that more countries could secure exemptions through deals, and the window of opportunity may be brief.
I think it is a short-term situation. It will go through. Other countries will also get the exemption. They'll make some deals and all that. Kenya will also get the exemption on 10% tariff. We are confident. As I said, we have done everything right.
The Kenyan shilling has slightly strengthened on the news, but while the industry sees a path forward, much depends on how the U.S. trade agenda unfolds in the coming months.
Students from Butere Girls High School protested after boycotting their performance at Kenya's National Drama Festival. They demand the release of their playwright, Cleophas Malala, detained by police under unclear circumstances.
A student protest erupted Thursday outside the National Drama Festivals after playwright Cleophas Malala, author of Echoes of War, was arrested the previous night. Police surrounded Malala's car late Wednesday and fired tear gas as he resisted arrest, claiming no charges or summons were presented. The play, critical of President Ruto's policies, had already sparked political debate. Kenya's government accuses Malala of using students to push a political agenda.
I asked police officers where the charge sheet or the summons were, and they had none. Yet, I have a court order that grants me permission to stage the play. So why will they arrest me on the middle of the road, at night, and they are not telling me where they are taking me? The problem is, the police officers have prevented the students from doing their rehearsal. The students have been locked inside the house. What democracy is this if students can be prevented from rehearsing a school play?
Butere Girls High School missed their scheduled performance. The Education Ministry has not commented, but civil rights groups say the case raises questions about artistic freedom and political interference in Kenya's schools.
The Ugandan High Court has denied bail to opposition figure Kizza Besigye and his co-accused Obed Lutale, despite both meeting the legal requirements for release. The two have now spent more than 140 days in detention on treason charges.
Ugandan opposition leader Kizza Besigye, handcuffed to co-accused Obed Lutale, appeared in court Friday as a judge denied their bail request. The court acknowledged they had fulfilled all legal conditions for bail, but cited doubts about their fixed place of abode, a factor the registrar said was critical in assessing flight risk. The registrar emphasised the legal weight of proving a permanent residence when applying for bail.
To underscore the importance of the provisions of proof of a fixed place of abode, it can be a ground for refusal to grant bail. It is therefore imperative for the court to be persuaded that the accused person has a fixed place of abode because it is a pointer to the fact as to whether the applicant is likely to abscond once granted bail.
Besigi's lawyer called the ruling a setback not only for his client, but for Uganda's entire legal system.
This is a terrible, terrible decision. It's a terrible precedent. Aside, away from the rights of Dr. Kizza Besigye and Obedi Lutale, for the jurisprudence of this country, it's a terrible one.
Besigi's continued detention has drawn international concern, with rights groups warning of shrinking democratic space as Uganda heads toward the 2026 elections. His legal team plans to appeal.
Tanzanian police have now blocked opposition party Chadema from holding a planned rally in Ruvuma. Officers allegedly fired tear gas into party offices as tensions rise ahead of this year's general election.
Tanzanian police on Thursday dispersed crowds and blocked senior Chadema leaders from attending a rally in the southern Ruvuma region. The disruption came a day after party leader Tundu Lissu was arrested, fueling claims of political intimidation in the run-up to national elections. Heche accused police of using excessive force against peaceful gatherings.
They, police officers, are tear-gassing us in our offices. You have also seen how people are now crying because of police officers lodging tear gas canisters into our offices.
Police say the actions were taken to prevent inflammatory rhetoric during a politically sensitive period.
The police force warns all political parties and leaders to refrain from using inciting language or insults against the government or the police force, especially as the country prepares for this year's general election.
With elections approaching, both civil society and foreign observers are watching closely for signs of further crackdown.
That's all we have today on African News. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to A News.